At 6:14 a.m., my phone buzzed on the nightstand, and I almost didn't look at it, because the only people who text me before 7 a.m. are either my night shift fry cook calling in sick or my mother, and neither of those is a conversation I want to start my day with. It was my sister, Becca. He still doesn't know we transferred the beach house to my name last April. He keeps paying the mortgage like an idiot. I read it twice. Then a third time, very slowly, the way you read a word you've spelled correctly 100 times until it suddenly looks fake. For context, I'm Jake. I own a burger restaurant. The best one in town, not because I'm biased, but because we've got a 4-month waiting list for the patio, and a regular who drove 90 minutes just for our garlic aioli. I built that place from a food truck with a propane leak and a dream. I know what it's like to count quarters for change. I know what it's like to work 16-hour shifts and still smile at customer number 212. What I did not know, apparently, was that the beach house, the one I have been paying the mortgage on for 3 years, the one I bought as an investment for the family, something we could all use, the one with my name on the deed, or so I thought, was no longer mine. Yes, really, I'm not making this up. AITA for still being in shock 4 minutes later? The text wasn't meant for me. It was meant for our mother. I know this because 30 seconds later, a second text arrived. Wait, that was supposed to go to Mom. OMG, ignore that. Too late, Becca. Far, far too late. I did 3 things, in this order, with the calm precision of a man who has dealt with a walk-in freezer breaking down during a Saturday dinner rush and therefore does not panic anymore. He executes. 1. I screenshotted both messages. 2. I forwarded them to my lawyer, a sharp, terrifyingly efficient woman named Priya, who has saved my restaurant from 2 lawsuits and 1 extremely aggressive health inspector with a grudge, with the message, "Need to talk, this morning, it's about the beach house." 3. I replied to Becca, "Wrong number, sis." Then I made coffee. Just coffee. Nobody asked for half of it. By 6:14 a.m., the day had already peaked for most people. For me, it was just getting started. Because by noon, my sister would be sobbing into my voicemail, and I would still have 14 more screenshots to send. To understand how my own sister ended up with my name quietly scrubbed off a deed, you have to understand the role I've played in this family since approximately birth. The reliable one. The boring one. The one who pays. I want to be clear that I don't say this with total bitterness. Some of it, sure. But mostly I say it the way you'd describe a recurring dream where you're at work, but also somehow naked, with a kind of exhausted, disbelieving fondness. Here's the inventory for the record. I am, after all, a man who keeps receipts. Literally, professionally, I run a restaurant. Receipts are my whole personality. I paid for Becca's wedding. All of it. The venue, the 4-tier cake nobody finished, the open bar that 3 of her bridesmaids took extremely personal advantage of, $14,300, and a relationship with my checking account that has never fully recovered. I paid off my brother Marcus's car when he got between jobs for the 2nd time, which is a phrase our family uses the way other families say on vacation. Vague, cheerful, and somehow permanent. Marcus has now been between jobs longer than I've been running my restaurant. I covered Mom's hip surgery deductible, which I did gladly, except that Mom's hip has made a miraculous recovery every single time there's a farmer's market, a wine night, or, and I cannot stress this enough, line dancing. I have seen photographic evidence of my supposedly hip-compromised mother doing the electric slide at a barbecue 4 months after I wrote that check. I gave Uncle Dale a small loan to start his pressure washing business, which mostly seems to involve him giving unsolicited life advice from my parents' basement, where he has lived since I was in middle school. Uncle Dale once told me, while eating a sandwich I bought, that I needed to diversify my income streams. Uncle Dale's income stream is me, and then there's the beach house. 3 years ago, business was good. The kind of good where you allow yourself to believe you've made it. And I bought a little 3-bedroom place 40 minutes from the coast. Not fancy, just nice. A place where the whole family could gather, I said. An investment, I said. Something we build together, I said. Like an absolute golden retriever of a human being who had clearly not yet learned that some people will absolutely take the entire steak off the counter if you turn your back for one second. I put the down payment in. I've covered the mortgage every month since. $2,840, like clockwork. Because I am, if nothing else, financially disciplined. Having learned the hard way that restaurants fail when you're not. Becca handled the paperwork, because she works in real estate admin and offered, and because I trusted her, because she's my sister, because that's supposedly what family means. I should have seen it coming, obviously. Who could have guessed? Everyone could have guessed. Everyone except me, apparently, The man who reads every health code update cover to cover, but somehow never reads a deed transfer. The little signs were always there, just dressed up as nothing. Becca casually mentioning she'd simplified things with the property paperwork. Mom referring to the beach house as Becca's place at Thanksgiving, which I genuinely thought was just mom being mom, because mom calls my restaurant that little burger stand, even though we were featured in a regional food magazine. The breaking point, before the breaking point, was almost comically small. 3 weeks before the text, I drove out to the beach house for a weekend. My own beach house, I thought, silly me, and found the locks changed. Becca said it was for security, because there'd been some sketchy people in the neighborhood. I believed her. I am, I will remind you, a golden retriever. I should have checked the deed that day. I didn't. I went home, ate a sandwich I made myself in my own kitchen, and complained to absolutely no one. Because complaining wasn't really a skill I'd developed. Paying was my skill. Paying was my whole personality, outside of burgers. Then came the 6:14 a.m. text, and suddenly I had a new skill too. Priya called me back 40 minutes after I sent the texts, which for Priya is basically supersonic speed. "Jake," she said, "tell me you have more than this." "I have the deed paperwork from when I bought it. I have 3 years of mortgage statements in my name. I have her texts." "Send me everything. And Jake, don't respond to her again until I say so." I didn't need to be told twice. I had a lunch rush to run anyway, and nothing clears the mind like flipping 40 burgers while a property fraud investigation quietly assembles itself in the background. Here's what Priya found by 9 a.m. in the unglamorous, deeply satisfying language of someone who bills by the hour and is extremely good at her job. In April, a quitclaim deed had been filed transferring the beach house from my name to Becca's. It had, allegedly, my signature on it. I had not signed anything in April. I had been at a restaurant supplier conference in April, 3 states away, with a hotel receipt, a rental car receipt, and approximately 200 photos of competitor burger presentation that I'd taken for research purposes, my one true vice. So either my signature had been forged, or, best case scenario for Becca, somehow, I'd signed something I didn't understand without reading it, which, given how the rest of the story goes, you will not be shocked to learn is not what happened. It was forged. Priya confirmed it with a handwriting comparison before lunch, which I genuinely didn't know was a thing you could just do, but apparently when you have a lawyer who treats your case like a personal vendetta against incompetence, things move fast. By 11:50 a.m., Priya had filed the preliminary fraud complaint and flagged the deed for review. By noon, my phone rang. Becca. I let it go to voicemail. I had a kitchen full of orders and, more importantly, I had nothing to say to her yet that wouldn't get said better in writing, with a paper trail, the way I'd apparently needed to be doing things with this family for years. The voicemail, when I listened to it on my break, was a masterpiece of someone realizing the walls were closing in. Jake, hi, it's me. Okay, so that text, that was a joke. It was a stupid joke between me and Mom. We joke about the beach house all the time. You know how Mom is. Jake, call me back. Jake, I can explain. She can explain. Of course she can. People who forge signatures on deed transfers always have an explanation ready, the way I always have backup buns ready in case the delivery's late. It's part of the trade. I didn't call back. Instead, I opened the family group chat, the one I'd been quietly muted in for 2 years because Uncle Dale sends 40 good morning gifts a day, and I unmuted it. Then I started sending screenshots. Not all at once. That's not my style, and frankly, it's not good pacing. I'd learned that much from running a restaurant. You don't dump the whole menu on a table at once. You build the meal. Screenshot 1, Becca's original text. He still doesn't know we transferred the beach house to my name last April. He keeps paying the mortgage like an idiot. The group chat went silent for 4 minutes. I know, because I was watching the little read receipts pop up one by one. Mom, Marcus, Uncle Dale, my Aunt Carol, who never says anything but apparently reads everything. Then Mom. Jake, honey, there's been a misunderstanding. Screenshot 2, the mortgage statement, my name, 3 years of on-time payments totaling $102,240. Screenshot 3, the original deed, with my name as sole owner, dated the week I bought the place. Screenshot 4, the forged quitclaim deed, with my signature, dated April 14th. Screenshot 5, my hotel receipt from the supplier conference, dated April 14th, 3 states away. Uncle Dale, bless his heart, chose this exact moment to type, "Family shouldn't air dirty laundry in a group chat. This is disrespectful to your sister." A sentence from a man who has not contributed to a single family expense since the Obama administration, and who once asked me, completely seriously, why I didn't just manifest more abundance instead of working so much. I didn't even respond to Uncle Dale. I just sent screenshot 6. The official notice from the county recorder's office confirming the fraud complaint had been filed and the title transfer was now frozen, pending investigation. The chat exploded. Marcus, who hadn't said a word, suddenly had opinions. Aunt Carol asked if anyone wanted to just talk about this calmly as a family, a sentence so detached from the actual content of the conversation that I almost felt bad for her. Almost. Mom called next. I let that go to voicemail too. I was 3 orders deep into the lunch rush and, frankly, enjoying my burgers more than I'd enjoyed anything family-related in roughly a decade. Becca showed up at my restaurant at 2:30 p.m. Not called ahead, not texted, just appeared at the host stand, mascara already a war crime, demanding to see me right now. I want to paint the scene accurately. It was the tail end of lunch rush. Half my regulars were still finishing their fries. My host, a sweet 19-year-old named Priya, no relation to my lawyer, just a delightful coincidence I will never not enjoy, looked at me with the exact expression of someone who has just realized she's about to witness a situation. I came out from the kitchen in my apron, because I wasn't about to change clothes for this conversation, and Becca launched in immediately, loud enough that several tables stopped pretending not to listen. "You humiliated me in front of the entire family! Do you know what Mom said to me?" This, from the woman who forged my signature on a deed transfer. "You stole a house from me," I said calmly, the way I'd talk a frustrated customer through a kitchen delay. I think I'm allowed to mention it. It wasn't stealing, it was, "Jake, you weren't even using it that much, and I needed..." Needed what, Becca? This is the part where she made the mistake every cornered person in these stories makes. She kept talking. "I needed equity, okay? Derek and I are trying to buy into a franchise, and the bank wanted collateral, and you weren't even... You have this place, Jake. You have everything. And I just needed one thing to finally get ahead, and you would have said no if I'd asked, so I just..." Forged my signature. The restaurant had gone fully, deliciously silent at this point. Even the kitchen staff were peering through the pass. "I was going to tell you eventually," she said. Which is a sentence that has never once in human history been followed by anything true. I pulled out my phone. Not for show, though I won't pretend the symmetry wasn't satisfying, and read off the highlights for anyone still listening. The forged deed, the fraud complaint, the mortgage I'd paid in full for 3 years on a house I no longer technically owned, on paper, until about 4 hours earlier when Priya froze the transfer. "You've humiliated us," Becca said, switching gears, going for the classic. "What is everyone going to think?" I gestured very calmly at the dining room, where I could see at least 2 of our actual family friends from the neighborhood, including Mrs. Alvarez, who has known us since we were kids and who, I noticed, was nodding along with an expression of profound vindication. "I think they already know, Becca. I think everyone's known for a while." Mrs. Alvarez, unprompted, called out, "Jake, sweetheart, your fries are getting cold." It might be the single greatest sentence ever spoken in my restaurant, and we've had a minor celebrity chef cry over our brisket burger. Becca's face did something complicated, somewhere between rage and the dawning realization that the room was not, in fact, on her side. She tried one more angle, the manipulation special. Tears, real or performed, I genuinely couldn't tell anymore. "I'm your sister, Jake. Doesn't that mean anything?" And here's the thing. Here's the line, the one I'd been building toward without even realizing it, through 3 years of mortgage payments and a decade of quietly funding everyone's lives but my own. I said it quietly. I didn't need to yell. The whole restaurant had gone still enough that quiet was plenty. It used to. I'm really glad we finally had this conversation, though. Next time, bring a lawyer. Then I went back into the kitchen, because Table 6's order was up, and a good burger waits for no family drama. The investigation moved fast, once it had momentum. These things often do, Priya told me, once the paper trail is this clean. Within 6 weeks, the forged deed was formally voided, the title was restored fully to my name, and Becca was, depending on how the DA's office decided to play it, looking at either a settlement or actual charges for deed fraud. She settled. Quietly, through lawyers, with an agreement that included paying back a portion of what she and her husband Derek had already borrowed against the property's equity before I'd found out. Equity that, again, was never legally hers to leverage in the first place. I'm not going to pretend there wasn't satisfaction in watching that paperwork get signed. There was. A lot of it. I treated myself to a very good steak that night at a restaurant that was not my own, just to feel what it was like to be a customer for once. The family fallout was, I'll admit, exactly the kind of chaos you'd expect, and I watched most of it unfold from a comfortable, increasingly amused distance. Mom tried the, "can't we all just move past this?" approach almost immediately, sending me a text 2 days after the confrontation that just said, "Made your favorite lasagna, want to bring some by?" I did not respond. She sent a follow-up the next day. "Did you get my text?" Then, 2 days after that, "Was it good? Do you want more?" Then, the kicker, a full week later. "Could you maybe just stop by for a little bit? Even just 20 minutes. Family is family." A sentence I have come to understand means, roughly, "Please resume your role as the person who fixes things." I sent her a single reply, eventually. "I'm not coming by until we can have an honest conversation about what happened. I love you. That's not changing. But I'm not pretending nothing happened either." She hasn't brought up the lasagna again, though I do hear, through the family grapevine that apparently still functions, even with me on the periphery, that she's started therapy. Genuinely good for her. I mean that. Uncle Dale, predictably, attempted to position himself as a neutral peacekeeper, posting a long message in the group chat, which I'd rejoined briefly just to watch the show, about how this family needs healing, not blame. A message he wrote, as far as I can tell, from the same basement he has lived in rent-free for over 15 years. I did not engage. Some things don't deserve a receipt. Marcus, surprisingly, was the unexpected twist. About a month after everything blew up, he texted me out of nowhere. "Hey, can we get lunch? Not to ask for anything, just want to talk." I almost didn't go because lunch, not to ask for anything, has historically been the opening line of approximately every conversation that ended with me paying for something. But I went, mostly out of curiosity, and to my genuine shock, he just talked about how he'd watched the whole beach house thing unfold and realized he'd been doing a smaller, quieter version of the same thing to me for years. The between jobs thing, the car, all of it. "I didn't even register it as taking from you," he said. "It just felt like that's what you do. You're the one who has it together, so you help." But watching what Becca did made me realize I'd just been doing a slower version of the same thing. He paid for lunch. First time in maybe ever. It wasn't a grand gesture, $16 for 2 sandwiches, but it genuinely meant more to me than the entire beach house settlement. "Why didn't you say something sooner?" I asked him. "Honestly, I didn't know I was allowed to notice it. You made it look easy." Turns out it wasn't easy, you were just really good at not complaining. That one stuck with me more than I expected. As for Becca, we don't talk. Not really. Beyond the bare logistics required by the settlement paperwork. I don't know if we ever will again in any real way, and I've made my peace with that being a genuine possibility. It's a strange grief, mourning a relationship with someone who's still alive and well, and, as far as I know, still trying to make the franchise thing work with Derek, minus my house as collateral. The beach house itself, I kept. I go out there more now, actually. Alone, sometimes with friends, once with Marcus and his terrible taste in beach music. Funny how a place can feel different once it's actually unambiguously yours. And the restaurant? Business is good. Better even, if I'm honest, because it turns out when you're not quietly bleeding money into your family's various schemes and investments, you have a lot more capital to put into, say, a second location, which, small announcement here, we're opening this fall. I'm naming a burger after Marcus, not the lasagna lady. Sorry, Mom. Earn it back. So here's what I learned. In the unglamorous, post-beach house, slightly more suspicious, but much happier version of my life, family isn't the people who share your blood or your group chat. It's the people who don't quietly retitle your house behind your back while complimenting you on how generous you are. I'm not bitter about the money. Not really. Not anymore. I run a restaurant. I understand margins, write-offs, and the long-term cost of bad investments. What I am is clearer. Clearer about who shows up for me without an invoice attached. Clearer about the difference between love and leverage. The mortgage is just mine now. The locks are mine. The coffee in the morning is just mine, and nobody's asking for half of it. And somehow that's the detail that still makes me smile most. So, AITA for sending 14 screenshots into a family group chat at lunch rush? I don't think so. But I've been wrong before. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for the awards, strangers. Genuinely didn't expect this to blow up. Update. Yes, the burger named after Marcus is a bacon double with extra pickles. He cried a little. We don't talk about it. TLDR. My sister accidentally texted me that she'd forged my signature and stolen my beach house. I forwarded it to my lawyer before she could unsend it, filed a fraud complaint, and confronted her with receipts in my own restaurant in front of half my regulars. I kept the house. She's paying it back. My brother bought me lunch for the first time in his life. Family drama, served medium rare with a side of justice.